Okay, so I didn't tell Ken what we're going to talk about today, so I'm just going to throw it at you here. So I had I had a consult with a woman today who I've been working with through Weaponized Wellness, and we did her blood work, and blood work looks amazing. And she's like, "Yeah, I've been taking this one thing, but I'm not taking the testosterone anymore." I was like, "What's up with that? Like, was it not working for you? And was it?" What was going on with it? And she said, "Well, can I share something with you? Like, as a practitioner or whatever." I was like, "Oh, yeah, of course. That's part of this. Like what you need to
Do you
communicate
really
to me."
want to talk about this on the podcast?
Yeah. And she goes, "Well, when I started taking the testosterone, my libido went way up." And she was like, "My husband was not ready for it." She's like, "I took it for a little while and I had to stop because my husband had to level up." I was like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "Now he's been working with somebody, he's on TRT, and now like he's leveling up and like I got to get back on it." So I just thought this was a really interesting topic because this has come up a couple times now, and we haven't talked about this specifically, but
So this is the surprise?
yes. Well, because we can relate to this because, well, I was the one who started with hormone optimization, hormone therapy in what year was it? It was like, it was like
2023, I think.
yeah, 2022, 2023. Basically what was going on is like, I was like holding body fat for the first time. My lifts were like sagging. Like it was like some weeks you have an off week and it's like, oh, I can't lift that much this week. And then they go back the next week and you're like, okay, I'm back on. It was like every week was an off week, off week, off week. And this was like well over a year after Lily was born. It's like I should have been bouncing back too. And so I just started going down that road. And I think you had a lot of, reservations about me going down that road.
Which I didn't share at the time because I didn't know how to share them.
Yeah. And I think some of them, I'm going to open it up for you to share this because I think there's a lot of couples in their 40s plus that this is a thing. Like either the wife is like, "I don't want you to get angry and aggressive," or "I don't want you to start like trying to
hump my leg,
hump me every day because I don't want to do that. Like I'm happy sex once a week, once every 2 weeks or whatever." And the guy is like, "No, I feel like shit. I want not just my libido back. I want like my body back. I want my brain back. I want energy back." So I don't know. You can talk about the things that you had like as preconceived notions and then why you decided to get on HRT. But I think there's a lot of couples, whether it's like the guy being hesitant of his wife getting on HRT. And then I think more so there's more women that are hesitant for their men to get in on HRT. And I thought it was an interesting perspective that this particular client had because she was like, he had to level up, not just like with their sex life, but she was like, it helps so much with like focus, clarity. Like she's a business person, but she's like, it made such a difference with like clarity, purpose, energy, just drive in general. So talk about like some of the things that you had to get over and like how you got past those.
For you starting TRT or for me?
For me starting TRT
Okay.
in 2020.
So, well, first of all, like I said, we were in the weeds of having Lily and coming out of COVID. So even though we were always pretty good like sleepers, I think that both of us were very sleep deprived, and both of us at that time, I would say, had very high stress levels that we probably didn't talk about as openly with each other. And I could tell, like, you physically not, you've never looked like heavy to me. You described.
You look bad.
But you looked like you had, the biggest thing was, I remember there was a video you recorded for The Office, and I was watching it, and you had like really big bags on your eyes, and then they were like almost like, I thought at that time it was like, oh, I was like, maybe he's anemic, like kind of thing. But I was like, how does that happen for a guy? Well, come to find out, you had some other issues going on with iron overload.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was happening is you were really at a low place, and physically you were doing the same amount of training, but you were like needing much more recovery time. You were really grumpy about it. You're like a person that if like you don't get physical activity,
Yeah.
you get
I
really
get it how bad I was doing. So what was your hesitation?
hold on, let me share the things that I saw,
Yeah.
which then the first thing I had to get over was you started on TRT without telling me because you were afraid
Yeah.
of my reaction, which it
Well,
sounds like possibly this might have happened in this situation.
well, I was afraid, like, so you're terrified of needles, first of all. So
Yes.
I just thought like you wouldn't want me bringing that in the house to begin with because of the needles.
Yes. Okay. Which is true. That was probably the first thing I had to get over, like the physical, like application of it. And I was like, if you ever ask me to, I know a couple like husband wives that they do it for each other. And I like, if you ever ask me to do that, I just can never do that.
I think I would ever ask you to do.
No, I don't think you would, because you just know like what would happen if you did. Right. Like I'd pass out. That's how deep that fear for me. Fast forward to, you said, what are some of the things? One of the unconscious things when I found out Ryan had started doing it was I had like one or at least two boyfriends I can think of that like did use steroids. And I did not know the difference between steroids and TRT. So, but I didn't think to ask you this. I just kind of like, I assumed they were the same, they acted the same way. And those two boyfriends that I know of, I remember the anger and aggressiveness that they had at times. Which I am a person who does not like or react well to anger as an emotion. So for me, like that was my biggest fear, is that like, oh shit, he's already pretty reactive. What the fuck am I gonna get now? And this was before we worked through a lot of our marriage stuff too. So it was even more heightened, but again, not a conversation I knew how to address with you at the time. So I think the needles and the anger were the two big things. Then let's come.
Interesting. So the sex.
Nothing to do with, did not even dawn on me.
I thought that was one of.
Yeah. So then but the third one I would say is that when you started to optimize your hormone levels, I did notice that, I mean, physically you started to have shifts, right? But you never, like I said at the beginning, you never looked unfit to me. So that wasn't something that like I was anticipating like a huge change in, because you had very small room to like make some changes. And you are a person that when you make a small shift, most men are like this, I find, like you see it dramatically, but because you were already starting from such a pretty fit baseline, it wasn't like I was going to see you drop 20 pounds and notice, right? Like it was like more
No,
like,
it wasn't a weight loss thing.
yeah, it wasn't a weight loss thing, but it was a body composition thing. Like you wanted to put on muscle.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that was also a focus that I wanted to be when I transitioned out of like CrossFit training. It was something that I wanted to focus on. Was like, I've never trained specifically for aesthetics. So I wanted to like, I'm going to focus on just putting on muscle.
Yeah. So that was a big thing. That was not a big thing, but to the sex thing. But then when you started to not, I don't want to say even more get confident, you started to get some of the results of the TRT, then your sex drive did go up. And I was not in a place that I was really ready. I was open to it, but I was not really ready to receive the frequency on which you now desired sex, because it was already a underlying challenge for us at that time. Again, that we were still working on like settling with working through with each other. So I would say those are the three things that stood out. But I think a lot of people do go on TRT and don't. One of the biggest things that I noticed that I did not know, again, this is where the confusion of the TRT and the steroids was for me, is TRT does improve your focus. And then I'll kind of go into my experience with it. And it also like, it puts you more like, it creates clarity, I find, when you have those hormones optimized, because you become more decisive, you become more clear, and you are more, for lack of I don't want to say masculine, but that's the word that I want to say, is like, could you help me? Like,
What are you
not
trying to
say
explain?
like, you're more decisive and clear in your decision making when your testosterone is optimized.
I mean, what are you trying to explain? Like the benefits of testosterone?
Well, this is some of the things that I've noticed.
I just want you to
but I
tell
didn't
people what
know.
you noticed about.
That's what I'm saying. This is one of the big things I noticed about you.
What?
Was that you became much more clear in your decision making. Like, you're much more decisive. That's the only way I can think
Confident.
about it. Confident. Yeah.
What happened with our business in the last 3 years?
Well, you got way more strategic about and way more committed
Mhm.
to your role as a leader.
Yeah. So yeah, I was curious to know like what you noticed. Objectively, like our business has gotten much like we've been more successful business wise. We've started another business. Yeah, I just
That
feel
does
like
this.
yeah, that does this. Obviously, I'm a huge proponent, but I think what you're like for me, the benefits of testosterone optimization, I like to tell people is more so for me the brain and the mental benefits, like rather than the physical. Like I enjoy the physical benefits, but like you said, my body comp, like I my focus was aesthetic, so I did purposely put on muscle, but the testosterone helped, but it wasn't everything. My testosterone did go from like low 300s now up to 1,000, which made a massive difference. But the biggest difference in my life was when I woke up in the morning, I could literally get out of bed and I felt like I was ready to go. I didn't like drag ass and have trouble getting out of bed and had to drink like a cup and a half of coffee and then ponder like, what am I going to do today? Holy shit. Like, and even just negative ruminating thoughts. A lot of like, I was way sadder,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, definitely for sure.
like way more,
And
not,
I thought it was me.
like not
Like
depressed.
I thought I made you sad.
Well, no, no, I don't know. Like what people have to understand is that you have testosterone receptors all over your body, including your brain and nervous system. And when your testosterone is optimized in your nervous system, in your brain in particular, it helps with mood, like positive mood, focus, gives you better energy, feelings of energy, motivation, drive, certainty, decisiveness. And these are all, if you had to categorize them, it's like it's more of a masculine type of a quality, if you will. Rather than if you thought about more of like a feminine quality would be more like loving, caring, nurturing, and all that kind of stuff. And there's hormones that assist with that, oxytocin being one of them, estrogen. But that's why having a balance of all these hormones is so critical. And for me, I destroyed my testosterone levels doing 10 straight years of competitive CrossFit and then extreme endurance athletics while trying to run a business and being stressed out because I was a really shitty husband and hated myself. So like all of that just wound me into this like sad, depressed person. No, I mean, I'm serious. Like testosterone changed everything for me, not just like, oh, I'm so much more physically attractive to my wife because you don't even really like look at me anyway. I'm just kidding.
Hey.
Well, like you said, you're like, oh, you don't really
Well, let me
look
tell
like
you some of the physical benefits that I've seen.
but I just want to finish by saying like for me it was more the mental benefits that changed so much for me. And that's what I espouse to people. It's not so much like let's get jacked and get harder erections. Like, yeah, that's nice. Like I love that as one of the things that you can help men with, but like the mental benefits are just like I've done talks on it. It's just so powerful.
Yeah, so I was trying to get to mental benefits first, not the because I don't think generally people know that about Tempo. Like
Yeah, and then like who's more attractive? Like a sad, unhappy, like
Farmer Joe on the couch,
right? Or like
Farmer Joe working in the field.
confident, certain, like has a plan, Ryan. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah, and it's a lot of people are focused on like, oh, it's just the way I look, but no, it's the way it's who you are. It's the way you show up, right? And then that.
And when that's optimized, you get to show up more fully as your authentic version of you. And this is a tool to help you do so, but it's a tool that has a lot of stigma, it has a lot of confusion, and it has a lot of misconception, which to be completely honest, I think is starting to really you're starting to see the tides turn a little
There's
bit.
way more people that are in demand of it, but it's and in that vein, there's a lot of very poor managed hormone plans for a lot of people. Like I guess one of the type of client that I take on more so than any now with hormone optimization is someone switching over from like a cheap company, cookie cutter cheap company that's doing shitty labs, and they want optimization better man. So just to throw that out there.
And it's like the other thing too is that like I think one of the big questions that I had at the beginning, which is a really, really common question on this topic that I get and I know you get too, is like, hey, once I start doing this, will I have to keep doing it for life? Like that's a we get that question about chiropractic, right? Like it's like
It's valid.
it's and
And you know what that is? That's just all the money.
hold on. No, because I would ask that question because I legit didn't know that. Like that was a question I didn't have answered, right? But then like I started to realize when I had my own experience with it, I was like, dude, I would never not do this now because I feel so dramatically different.
Okay, so talk about, and the reason I say it comes up to money is that's usually the main like objection most people have is like, do I have to keep doing this because I want to keep paying for it or whatever? But also like, you know, they want to know that they're not damaging their health either,
Yeah.
right? So I think those are the two main ones. But out of curiosity,
Which is why not using a cookie cutter program is very important.
right? So when did you decide to
So I was thinking about this today.
optimize your own?
This is ironic. This is the surprise topic we're talking about.
What was that? What was the like?
Because I was thinking about this today.
It's not really a surprise.
So no, I started so first off, let me back up. Just like
What did you think I was gonna say? You were like, this is what you want to talk about? And you got nervous there.
no,
What I was telling
just
us,
said about how like the woman wanted more sex than her husband, and I was like, this is where what we're talking about today. This is like weird because that's not the case with us. You know what I mean? Like so. Anyways, so I started in April of 2024 doing this. So basically, it was about a year after Ryan had started. I had warmed up to this, and I went through this phase where I walk my dog a lot in the woods, and I was thinking of, on my walks, I do a lot of processing. I don't wear headphones, like try to stay present with him. And I was thinking and listing out all these things that at one point in my life I resisted because I didn't know enough information or I had misconceptions about. And one of the things that kept coming up when I would have this conversation with myself would be about testosterone. And one of the things that always sat in the back of my head is we have had lab work in our office for now 10 plus years. Like we have always offered functional health lab work. Both of us are really passionate, and both of us, despite my needle phobia, are very consistent with getting our labs done. I think at that point, we both had run our labs probably every 6 months to 1 year on average, not with our medical doctor, in our own office. And one of the things that was very consistent on my lab work was my testosterone was ridiculously low.
yeah, it has been for 10 years.
It has been for 10 years. And the way that my testosterone or female testosterone typically gets really low is physical exertion, but most of all, stress and or anxiety, cortisol, excess cortisol production, because that's how your adrenal glands basically get really run down. And that's what produces in a female most of your testosterone because you don't have testes.